What's up, everybody? Coming to you live once again. What the fuck was that accent? Okay, sorry about that. Let's start over. Coming to you live once again from my parents' house. We got episode 16 of the Changavi show. Welcome for those of you that are new. For those of you that are old, thank you for joining me again. Another show, another week of wow. There's been a lot that's been happening the last week. I know I didn't do a show last week. I apologize. I know I released the after show last week. Hopefully that was enough content to suffice you guys during your tense Thanksgiving day, whatever it was you guys do, Thanksgiving dinner, talking and all that. My Thanksgiving, though, in case anybody cared, was good. Spent some time with some family, ate dinner, ate a lot of good food, gained some pounds, but that's okay because that's what December is for, is to just grind them out. Anyway, sorry for the rambling. Let's get right into the show. We got business to take care of. South Asian Quality Control is right here and ready to go. That's what our show's going to, a lot of our show is going to be about today, but let's get into the show and my vibes. How am I doing? Honestly, guys, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I guess, is the best way to put it. This is that weird time of year where this is like the week before finals week. And, next week at this time when I'm recording, Wednesday, will be my last final and I'll be done. So all of that stress will be gone. But you guys are probably wondering, like, Anuj, like, you got into college. Why are you worried? But, like, honestly, I don't know. I think I'm just worried about because, like, the way tag works, or like the program I got in through, is like you have to maintain a certain GPA and like also make sure you pass all your classes and all that. And I'm not like at risk of failing any of my classes, but it's just that anxiety of like being able to pass and like, oh, like, are you going to get an F? Like, all that stuff. So it's just like that pre-finals anxiety. I'm sure I'll be fine. But yeah, there's a lot of assignments, a lot of work that's being done. But you guys come first. And you know what? My papers and speeches and all of that can wait. Sorry, professors, if you're watching this if you're watching this this week, in the future, I apologize. But my podcast comes first. My people come first. Okay. So yeah, feeling pretty overwhelmed with school right now, but it's okay. It's okay because I have you guys and I get to talk to you guys about all the things that are happening in the world, and that's cool. But other than that, like, trying to think. Thanksgiving, again, like I said, was very fun. Got to have kind of the traditional Thanksgiving dinner. It was good. Spend time with family. Got to hang out with a few very close friends of mine that came back from break. It's also weird, right? As like a college kid, you think you always hype up Thanksgiving break as this time, like, oh my God, I'm going to get to hang out with all of my friends that are back from college. And we're going to get to like do everything we want. But like Thanksgiving break is 4 days. And most of my friends who go to college in the Midwest and in the East Coast did not come back this break. So literally could not hang out with like a lot of my friends. And the ones that did were like super busy because, you come back Wednesday, you leave Sunday, or you leave Monday morning. So, you're constantly doing things. And I think one of my friends put it best when he said like Thanksgiving's about family. So I kind of just tend to like stick to the real close people for Thanksgiving. And like, winter is literally a week and a half, 2 weeks away in terms of breaks and for college. So it makes sense. And he was like, yeah, I literally have a month off. Like I can do whatever I want in that time span. And that's a very valid take as well. So yeah, I didn't really spend very much time with friends. I was mostly with family, mostly, hanging out, chilling, also taking much needed me time. I know I took the weekend off, but like I also like did a bunch of work for the podcast. Not a bunch, but like a little bit, I didn't really refrain myself. I really wanted to do some stuff, but I had to force myself. I was like, yo, let's take a step back today or this weekend, chill, watch some football, watch the Niners. 3 in a row, by the way, for the Niners. Wow. Wow, I can't even believe it. Like my voice just goes out when I say 3 in a row. It's miraculous. But yeah, I think it was really good for me to take some me time, really focus on, other people and, what I, just hang out with the people that I love. So that was cool. And, but we're back to the grind. This is, this is the show and we got to make content for the people. So who cares about what I'm feeling? There are so many headlines that have gone down the last week, and I'm not even going to get to cover the half of it because today is the day of another school shooting. Unfortunately, in Oxford, I wanted to give that a quick, recognition. Praying for all the families affected, praying for all the kids who are in the hospital injured, or praying for those that unfortunately passed on. Tragic day. But we'll do a whole thing on school shootings next week. I don't have very much prepared right now, and I, kind of want to give it some time to digest and really talk about it in more detail and research because I think that's more important. So anyway, let's get into the show that I have planned. Get into the sports topic to begin with. Big market versus small market. I know that was a real awkward transition, but I think this is a really big concept in sports, and it's something you don't necessarily think about. And I think you can't really relate this to like an individual sport like tennis or, maybe not necessarily even related to other team sports internationally like rugby and cricket, although I don't necessarily know how those work. But I think big market versus small market, particularly in the NBA, MLB, NFL, and the NHL, are super important. Um, Honestly, I really do believe I think big market versus small market kind of already sort of decides like who is going to be good for long periods of time versus who is going to be, inferior for a long period of time. And I think when you look at the big market teams, those tend to be the teams that get talked about more. When you look at small market teams, those tend to be the sports teams that are very much, usually brushed off to the side or tend to kind of remain in mediocrity for long periods of time and, et cetera, et cetera. For me personally, I'm a Bay Area sports fan, Bay Area sports guy. Um, and I'm a big Warrior and Niner fan, obviously, NFL, NBA. And the NFL, the 49ers are one of the biggest brands that the NFL has to offer. So I don't have any of the struggles that small market fans do. But I was thinking about this and I was like, yeah, the Bay Area is what, the third, fourth largest media market in the country. I've never really had to worry about not having my games nationally broadcasted, even when our teams suck. Fox would always figure out a way to put us in prime time for a little bit. Whether it be a Thursday night game or Monday night game here and there, or even like we never get Sunday night when we were bad, when we we're real bad, but game of the week and all 125, all of that stuff. And like, I don't know, this whole big market versus small market thing just got me thinking like about the business of sports in general and how the media kind of portrays narratives. I think if you're a small market team, particularly in the NBA or the NFL, you kind of get the short end of the stick when it comes to national coverage. I mean, I'll give you a small market team, for example, a small market team, the Cincinnati Bengals, right? They're pretty good this year. They're 7-4, so they're solid. But for a long time, they remained in mediocrity. They made the playoffs a few times with the Red Rifle himself, Andy Dalton, but it wasn't ever. It's the Cincinnati Bengals are not the first franchise that you think of when you think of the NFL, right? You're not sitting here and you're like, oh, the NFL. Like what do you think of when you think of the NFL? You think of the Dallas Cowboys, right? You think of the Steelers, the Patriots, the 49ers, like big brands. The Cincinnati Bengals may be your 32nd team that you think of when you think of the NFL. Like, unless you're from Cincinnati and you were born and raised, right? Then it's obviously a very different situation. But small market teams tend to really just get the brunt of the stick. And I mean, you look at it in the way that the teams are designed. Often, like Cincinnati, when you're a free agent in the end, we'll go to here for a second, because when you're a free agent in the NFL or the NBA, right, and you have the choice, you have the liberty to choose whichever team wants you. And let's say you're pretty good, right, and you're in demand, you're younger, and teams want you. And there are teams like the Dallas Cowboys that are knocking at your door. And there are also smaller market teams like, for example, uh, the Cincinnati Bengals, right? We'll go back to that example, right? So the Dallas, so you have two teams knocking at your door: the Dallas Cowboys, who are the biggest brand in American sports, right? You get on one, you have one good season with the Cowboys, the whole national media is going to be talking about you because, well, they're they're one of the NFL's biggest brands, and so they make the NFL the most money, and so the media has to cover them more because there are more fans of that brand. Whereas if you go to Cincinnati, you may have a fantastic season, but unless the team is real good, unless the team wins 12, 13 games, 11, 10 games, no one's going to care about you. No one's going to talk about you. You may have 15 and a half sacks as a defensive lineman in Cincinnati. People aren't going to look at you. It's the same thing that happened to Matt Stafford. Listen, this is probably a bad example now since Matt Stafford's not playing well. But Matthew Stafford was a quarterback for the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are an incredibly small market team. No one wants to go to Detroit. Name a free if you had the choice of employment and you had to decide between, LA, New York, Tampa, the Bay, and Detroit, are you really thinking of, is Detroit really in your top two? No. Yeah, unless they give you a huge amount of money, you're not going to be in the top two for Detroit, right? You're not going to be in the running for wanting to go to Detroit. Anyway, Matt Stafford was this really good quarterback in Detroit, and he was putting up great numbers, and he did a lot of cool stuff in Detroit. And eventually he got traded this offseason to LA. And why do you want to go to LA? Big market team. People would be looking at him. He'd have eyeballs on him. And now what happens? The national media is constantly talking about Matt Stafford. Yes, his play hasn't necessarily been at the par that has been expected of him, but he is still like, Matt Stafford is being talked about in the national media right now more than he was ever talked about in his 9-10 year career in Detroit, right? And the same thing happens for a lot of players. You go to a bigger brand, you go to a bigger city, and suddenly people are talking about you. You could be the ultimate star of Cincinnati, and you may, have all the fans' hearts, and the local media may praise you and praise you and praise you. But at the end of the day, if you're probably going to get overshadowed by someone who maybe is putting up a little less numbers than you, but plays in a real big city or plays for a really big brand in the NFL or the NBA. It's truly what it is. It's the Kyle Kuzma effect. Kyle Kuzma is an NBA player. I'll give you another example. The NBA, he played for the LA Lakers for the first 3-4 years of his career, and he put up decent numbers. He wasn't like great, I wouldn't call him like a great player. He was a solid third option on a, decent LA team. He won a championship in 2020 and contributed a decent amount in the playoffs. He left. Or he got traded to Washington, the Washington Wizards, which aren't as big a brand as the LA Lakers because the LA Lakers are a global brand. And now, like, people could care less about what Kyle Kuzma is up to. Unless you're a Washington Wizards fan, most people don't really care about what Kyle Kuzma is up to, right? No one's like really looking into it because he's not a part of that national storyline. Because Washington is not a part of the national storyline because they're not a contender and because they're a small market team, right? Like that is truly what it comes down to at the end of the day. I've realized in sports is small market versus big market has a lot to do with the way players are portrayed in the national media and who we support as fans versus who we don't support. So what's my solution to this? It's very simple. You got to follow local media, man. Local media, if you're a big sports fan and you get most of your information from Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Shams Charania, Adrian Wojnarowski, no disrespect to any of those guys because they've done a tremendous amount of work to get to where they are in society and they make a crap ton of money doing what they do. But they don't know all. They don't know all. They control the national narrative. They control how you think about the rest of the league. But if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan, a Sacramento Kings fan, a small market team fan, Green Bay Packers, whatever, chances are your team probably has some really excellent beat writers, some really excellent people who are writing in the local papers about your team, that go to practice every day, that for a living study this team, study everything that they do, and probably are putting out really good content. But it's being overshadowed because, the national media has their own narrative about the team, and, it's kind of whatever they say goes because they have more clout and they have a bigger following. Okay, that is my point, is you got to follow the local guys. You got to follow the local press. And I'm telling this to all my sports fans out here. If you are a 49ers fan and a Warriors fan, there are so many amazing beat writers to follow on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever it is. Listen to the radio, or the radio is a big one, right? I know a lot of people are very anti-radio. All radio guys are homers, blah, blah, blah. They give a really interesting perspective, okay? And that's what sports is all about, in sports media, is you want a variety of different perspectives. I think it's important to get a dose of the national media because, they provide you with some kind of perspective on what's going on. They have some decent thoughts, but you can't be all national media. You can't be focused on that storyline because you're going to get lost. And the reality is, you got to follow your local beat writers for your teams. And they are the ones who are really going to give you like the true sense of what's going on. And I think for the 49ers and the Warriors, I'm blessed as a sports fan that we have amazing local press, and also I've been a fan forever. So like I know most of them, not personally, but like I know who to follow and like who are the really good local people. But yeah, I 100% think that, national media versus local media is a big deal. And particularly when it comes to small market versus big market in sports, it's not going to like prohibit you from winning a championship. I'm not sitting here. The Milwaukee Bucks won a championship last year, but look at the ratio of small market teams and big market teams winning, right? It's mostly the big brands that are winning championships. Miami Heat, Golden State Warriors. Given, they kind of turned into a brand in the last, decade or so with investments from Silicon Valley, et cetera, et cetera. Miami Heat, Golden State Warriors, LA Lakers, Boston Celtics. These are the biggest winners. These are the biggest brands in the sport, and they tend to be the biggest winners of the sport. Like the Detroit Pistons had a few years, but everybody forgets about them. The Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan made them the brand that they are, but they're still a big market team. People want to go to Chicago. People want to live in Chicago. But anyway, that's just a take. You process it. You give me your thoughts later. But yeah, I mean, I just think that the big market versus small market kind of dilemma is something that does not get talked about in sports and really has a lot of implications in a lot of areas of the NBA and the NFL in particular. And I know I didn't get to all the intricacies, but there is quite a bit. And I think there's a lot to process there. Okay, I'm going to transition to something that is completely different from big market versus small market sports. And I'm going to talk about Mindy Kaling and Horndogs. Okay, I'm going to be straight up here. The South Asian Quality Control, and for those of you that aren't on YouTube, you can't see like my name tag, but my name tag for today, or my nameplate for today is South Asian Quality Control, and I have to do this for a reason. Two of my main pop culture topics revolve around South Asian representation. And, as a brown consumer of Indian American media, I feel like I'm giving myself football coaches have this thing called quality control where they make sure, everything is running okay. And what are better ways that we can optimize the desired result? I am quality control for South Asian representation. I have earned the title based on myself. I have given myself brown quality control. I am South Asian quality control. Do not hate, appreciate. Appreciate. Anyway, South Asian quality control. Let's talk about Mindy Kaling for a second, okay? So you're probably wondering, like, Anuj, why are you talking about Mindy Kaling? Why was she in the news? Like, she wasn't. She wasn't. Mindy Kaling wasn't in the news. And Never Have I Ever has not come out with season 3 yet, okay? So for my, Davey and Paxton stands, relax, okay? We'll do a whole big special episode for Never Have I Ever. But I had a chat with Mindy after season 2, and I really discussed with her some of the changes that I would like to see, not only on Never Have I Ever, but in her future directorial endeavors in approaching, um, what's it called? In approaching South Asian roles, but as well as potentially approaching female roles, you know? And I know I'm not a woman. And I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. You're a guy. You should not be talking about this information. Canceled. No, okay. Um, I did provide her some feedback as to what my uh, girlfriends who are South Asian said about the role of Davy and about some of the women and the way that they're portrayed. And I think that is very fair feedback. And I thought that she took it. I thought she took the feedback. I thought Mindy Kaling listened to what I had to say, and I thought she was going to implement it. Fast forward to about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. She released a show on HBO Max called The Sex Lives of College Girls. Okay, for those aunties who heard the word sex, relax, relax, relax. We won't talk much about it. No, I'm kidding. I'm say whatever the hell I want. Anyway, she releases the show called The Sex Lives of College Girls. Most of you did the smart thing and said, "Yeah, that sounds really stupid. I'm not going to look into it." I am very curious by nature. Okay. And those of you that know me know that I obviously clicked on it probably about 10 seconds after I saw it and cleared my plans because that's who I am. That's really who I am. I'm just someone who likes to go on an adventure. And so there are 3 episodes available. I think all the episodes are slowly being released over time. I think they're releasing like 2 or 3 at a time. So I got to see. I think they released 2 episodes with the first release. And I'm keeping up with it. I'm like 5. There's like 5 episodes out. I've watched all 5. This show, spoiler alert, if you're not really into like the teen drama-esque thing, do not watch this show. It's a complete and utter waste of time, in my opinion. But that is not the point. That is not the point that I'm trying to get at with this show. Mindy Kaling in this show, basically this show is exactly what the title is about. It's about the sex lives of college girls, and they all have their own individual storylines, right? There's the shy one who lost her virginity, like, her, what was it, the first night of college, and, she's in love with this hot guy and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. She's trying to talk to him, right? Then there's the white girl who, like, everybody thinks is, all the guys think is super hot. And, she's, all that. She's like your classic all-American girl, but like she's actually in the closet and hasn't come out to anybody yet, right? I'm totally spoiling the show, by the way. So if you want to watch it, there goes the first episode. And then there's the Indian girl, right? And she was a nerd and a loser Indian girl by her own words that Mindy Kaling wrote on a script. She said, "I was a loser Indian girl in high school. Now I just want to fuck." That's a line in the show. I'm not even kidding you. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even joking. Okay, that is a line in the show, right? And so you have Horndog Indian girl, right, which we've seen in Never Have I Ever, and then you have your last girl who's like, your classic 1985 storyline where she's her mom is like super famous, and then but in reality, like she's this fucking her mom is super famous, but like a famous politician, but she's a what's it called? But she's cheating, or she's a soccer player, but she's fucking her soccer coach, who is married, right? So like the classic 80s storyline, like it's been done 50 million times. So those are the 4 girls, right? Those are our 4 main characters. But I want to focus on the horn dog, the horn dog Indian stereotype, and I think Mindy Kaling, and this is the take I really want to get to. I think Mindy Kaling is harmfully, at this point in time, like Davy, cool, right? All right, like that's one show. Is she really going to do it all the time? And then I started looking. Mindy Kaling really, really, really sexualizes the shit out of every Indian woman character in any one of her shows. Kelly Kapoor in The Office is hella sexual. Okay, you like watch it again and you're like, oh shit, yeah, she's funny, yeah, sure. And did she even write that? I mean, she was like on writing staff for a bit, but like she got her start on The Office. Kelly Kapoor is super, she's a very sexual character. That's fine. I don't care. Okay, and then, right? You're like, then what else, Anuj? Watch the Mindy Project. Mindy Lahiri, the whole like plot of the mini project, in my opinion, is Mindy Kaling trying to find a husband. Okay. And her various sexual encounters in trying to do so. Mindy Lahiri in that show, it's not exactly who Mindy Kaling is, but it's like a form of Mindy Kaling. Watch the show, you'll understand. Is a very sexual character. Okay. Then you have Never Have I Ever, right? Mindy Kaling's not in the show, but she's directing and she's kind of running the whole operation. And Davey, you watch this show for 3 episodes, you can tell Davey is a complete and utter horn dog. Okay. And same with like, well, actually, not a lot of the other women in the show are horn dogs, but Davey is a complete and utter horn dog, right? And then you watch this show, The Sex Lives of College Girls, and the other 3, actually, to their credit, are not that horny. But she picked the Indian girl and made her a freaking horn dog. She's a horn dog. All this girl's identity in the show, her name is Bella. This girl's identity in the show, and no disrespect to the actress, because you're getting a bag, you're doing whatever it is you want to do, and I respect that. There are two main qualities about Bella. Number one, she's trying to write for this very, prestigious comedy magazine at this Ivy League school. Number two, she wants to fuck everything that moves. That is literally her second quality. Okay, there are 2 qualities. Sure, the comedy magazine, that's great, fantastic, but she wants to fuck everything that moves. And listen, I am not someone to care about characters fucking and and girls, in shows having sex. Do whatever you want to do, right? Because like Barney Stinson in How I Met Your Mother is so praised for, oh, he's the playboy, he's hitting it every night. Like, yeah, there should be a lot of girl Barney characters out there too. I don't care. But here's my point. Like, where's the line where you like over sexualize a character to the point where it's like not even worth watching anymore, right? Like Bella in this show is so hard to watch. I kid you not. Turn on an episode of this show and take it and like fun drinking game, 21 plus only. Okay, I'm watching you 19-year-old kids who are watching this. Fun drinking game on the show. Take a shot every time Bella mentions sex. You'll be drunk by the 5th minute. That's literally what this show is. Davey and Bella are the same exact freaking person. And I'm mad because Mindy Kaling's doing the same thing over and over and over again. And no one is calling her out on her bullshit. Okay, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. You cannot sit here and tell me that Mindy Kaling is some sort of like, representation goddess and she's brought South Asian women to the forefront. And like, yeah, she has to a certain extent. Totally agree. My Three Ramakrishnan would be nothing without Mindy Kaling. Richa Morjani, same thing, right? They played Davy and Kamala. Never Have I Ever. I do not know the actress's name who plays Bella. But she's obviously going to get a lot of clout for being on a Mindy Kaling show, and that's great. And I've never seen her before, so this is like obviously like her first big break, in my opinion, because I watch a lot of TV, unless I'm really dumb. But dude, this and like the fact is, like, this is what like appalled me above all with this whole show is that Mindy Kaling is making this show Never Have I Ever, where she's promoting Indian girls and saying like y'all can do anything and all of this stuff, and the messaging behind it is great. The character execution, like I've discussed before, Davy is not a well executed character. Kamala is not a well executed character. There's a lot of flaws within the show, but that's digging into the weeds. Bella is the same exact character as Davy. Literally Bella. Okay, let me tell you something. Davy is 16 on Never Have I Ever. Bella is 19. The only difference between the two is Davy is an overachieving nerd. Bella is kind of a nerd, but she also is funny. That's the only thing. She's funny, air quotes. I don't think she's that funny. We've never really seen this girl be real funny. The only thing she's funny about is like the amount of is when people are laughing at her because she makes sex jokes every 30 seconds. Like, and I'm not mad at that. Like, because sex positivity is something that's needed in the media, right? Like, I'm not, debating the merits of that because I think that's fine. If you want to make sexual jokes like Barney Stinson, again, like I said, Barney Stinson's a guy and he did it. Neil Patrick Harris did it. He's a guy. It doesn't matter. But, and like everyone's, praising him and they think he's hella funny. But Bella's real annoying. She's real annoying. I don't know, like, if it's, like, my perception of it or it's the fact that Mindy Kaling is creating utter horn dogs as her characters. This is ridiculous. Like, honestly, it's the same exact character. I feel like she didn't even use Turnitin.com, just copy-pasted Davy, put her into this show, new Indian girl, 4 years older, in college, virgin. Oh, wants to fuck everything that moves. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, boom. That's your character. And she's done this 5 times. And yet Hollywood keeps giving Mindy Kaling more money, more money, more money to produce fucking mediocre projects and terrible freaking characters like this. This is absolutely ridiculous. I never ever want to see this. And you know what the sad part is, right? Is not all brown girls are horn dogs. I feel really bad for the way that brown girls are being portrayed to the rest of the freaking world because they're all like, because whether we like it or not, Mindy Kaling is probably one of the more relevant directors right now, right? I mean, Aziz has been kind of off the map since, his whole Me Too situation. Hasan Minhaj is like a stand-up comedian. He's not really a director yet. I would love to see him get into the space. I think he would make things a lot better. Mindy Kaling is our basically like Kumail is an actor, right? Obviously there are way more South Asian, men and women out there that I'm not counting. But this is ridiculous, dude. Not all brown girls are horn dogs. I apologize, right? If you're a horn dog and you're a brown girl and this character represents you, fuck yeah. Go for it. Totally. But not all brown girls are literally make their identity going after the D. Like that is not their entire identity. Okay. And that's Bella's entire identity. That's Davy's entire, most of Davy's identity. That's most of Bella's identity. That's most of Kelly Kapoor's identity. We see a track record with this. My point is, this is absolutely ridiculous. Okay. We need to get rid. Can we stop watching Mindy Kaling TV? Like, I have to watch Never Have I Ever season 3, like, because it's Indian American representation. But like, God, Mindy, look at me in the camera right now. I'll tag you on Instagram, and I'm giving you a message. Please, for the love of God, stop using the same character over and over and over and over again. This is ridiculous. Can you make an Indian girl that's like, hot, but doesn't want to like, do anything, right? Can we do that? Like, doesn't want to do anything sexually. Can we make a character that's, just a straight up nerd, right? Not Davy nerd. Like, Davy nerd is weird, right? Can we make a character? Can we make an Indian girl character that like is cool? I know like Anissa is supposed to be like the cool one. She's not like, I mean, like, she's cool. Like I said, Megan Siri saved this Never Have I Ever season 2. Still stand by that take, but like, I mean, I feel like there's so much more we could be doing with Indian women characters, Indian guy characters. And you just bring us down with the same bullshit over and over again. And these horn dogs. I'm sick and tired of this, man. I don't know if it's just me. I could be ranting on here and people could be like, oh my God, you are trying to cancel everybody. You should be canceled, right? Now, I'm not saying cancel Mindy Kaling, right? I'm just saying Mindy Kaling, do better, bro. Do better. If you're going to get the bag from Hollywood and you're getting paid multiple millions of dollars to host freaking Diwali parties, I saw you host those Diwali parties. No problem. You can host your Diwali parties. But also, like, make a platform that's reminiscent of, like, the whole South Asian community and not just, like, 0.4% of it, okay? Not every brown girl is a horn dog. That's my main takeaway from this. And sorry for the rant. But I kind of want to move on to something more positive in the quality control department. So, as you know, I took a break during Thanksgiving break. I get it. I use the same word. Anyway, I took a break. And I got to experience some stuff, including getting to go and see Hasan Minhaj live on last Friday, at the Masonic on Black Friday. I got to see him live. It was really cool. Great experience. Love the Masonic. It's a great venue, by the way. If you guys have not been to the Masonic, go there for a concert or for, something. If your favorite artist is playing at the Masonic, know that it's a really cool venue. Or comedian performing, all that. I've seen Hasan Minhaj live before. He performed in my hometown, coincidentally, at the Flint Center in De Anza College, my college, right now. And I saw him 3 years ago, 3.5 years. Apparently, it's been 3.5 years. I saw some girl post about it. I was like, 3.5 years? That's ridiculous. So, yeah, I saw him 3.5 years ago at the Flint Center, and he was debuting Patriot Act. It was kind of like he was testing Patriot Act on a live audience. For those of you that don't know, Patriot Act is Hasan Minhaj's talk show, or his former talk show where he talked about a lot of political issues, all of that stuff. So, and I watched Homecoming King on Netflix. Quick story, and I'm going to put my parents on blast. So, I had the chance to go see Homecoming King live my sophomore year of high school. I known Hasan Minhaj since I was in like sixth, seventh grade. Like I've known everything. Like I've literally followed this guy's career since he was nobody. He had the first time I hit the follow button on Instagram, he had like 70K on Instagram. Okay, so that's pretty legit. I've been there from the jump. Okay, relatively speaking, obviously, like not when he was fully like not when he was like popping like he is now, but like was there before he was like mainstream. Anyway, so 70K. So I was there for 70K on Instagram, and he was posting stuff about Homecoming King coming to San Francisco, and he was performing at the Cal Academy of Sciences Theater. For those of you that don't know, that's like the 27th best concert venue in San Francisco. Okay, it's literally a auditorium in a science museum with 110 people like audience. And he was selling tickets for I think it was $10, $11 or something, and he's performing in San Francisco, and I really wanted to go. And I told my parents at 15 and a half, 16, I was like, Mom, Dad, can I please go to the show, please? And they were like, Anuj, gas is too much money. It is too much money to cross the bridge. We do not want to go. And I was like, well, your loss. And then he ended up on Netflix and started popping. And so I use that excuse every time. My parents are sick of it. My family is sick of me telling that story. I use that excuse every time there's a big artist performing, or I think is a big artist, because I'm like, yeah, I found the next big one. Because he was on Netflix, and then he did Patriot Act, and then, he's big now. So I was right. Paid much more for these seats live, by the way. We didn't even pay that much for Cupertino. We paid quite a bit for these Masonic seats. But nonetheless, let me talk about my experience, and let me talk about my takeaways from this show. So a lot of you probably haven't seen it, which means, because of the fact that it's not on Netflix, and I had to go see it live in San Francisco. Anyway, the line was super freaking long to get in. It took us like an hour and a half or 2 hours to get in. It sucked to wait out in the city, but also the city is beautiful, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Anyway, we're waiting out in the line, get into the theater. The opener is just finishing up, and she said Drake sucked, and I was like, yeah, I hate you. You're the worst opener of all time. You're literally the worst. Yeah, I'm never listening to a joke of yours again. Actually, I don't know. She might have been really good. No idea. But Hasan Minhaj comes on stage at because we went to the late show, and the show was supposed to start at 9:30, but the show actually started at 11 p.m. because of the fact that the line was so long, and this opener was, an hour and whatnot, and everything kind of took their own time. So the show started at about 11. Okay. Hasan Minhaj walks up on stage, and this was I'll tell you this. I made a video a while ago about is Hasan Minhaj overrated, was the topic of the video. And I can sit here and firmly tell you that I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll admit it. I'll admit it on camera. I was wrong. I shouldn't have made that video. I questioned the merits of it, of like us overrating him because of Never Have I Ever, and like, do I do the same thing with Hasan Minhaj? And honestly, I can say after watching the show, like, I don't. I really do feel that like he's really grown into his own. And I went with my brother, and the reason I bring it up is because my brother has kind of had this up and down relationship with Hasan. He didn't, he's felt like Hasan was very inconsistent, which is true. I think there is some inconsistencies. I don't think Patriot Act was a hit every episode. But he went, and he also watched the show. We went together, and we both came out of the show, and his first reaction was, wow, that was better than Homecoming King. I cannot say that right now with, looking into the camera, that this was better than Homecoming King, but this was pretty damn good. And let me talk to you why. So I was actually like really down on it heading into it. I was really scared that it was going to be bad, because I looked up, as one does, I looked at the reviews. I tried to find some reviews and tried to see like what people were saying about the show, how people were feeling, what's going on, all of that stuff. And the first result to show up was this girl, Shreya Andrake. Sorry if I messed up your name, Shreya. But it was my girl Shreya from George Washington or Georgetown, had this like real negative review about Hasan live in this show. And she said the show was bad, and it was a clusterfuck, and She didn't use clusterfuck, but she said like it was a cluster of really bad, like really like non-grounded theses. Like it felt all over the place. It felt rushed. It was bad. It was just the visuals weren't there, the lighting, all this stuff. Yeah, Shreya, I'm sorry, but you were wrong. And I mean, my expectations were low because I saw this review and I was like, damn, like this is about to be bad, isn't it? And then I saw like a couple Reddit threads where like the people were like, this is better than Homecoming King. But I was like, okay, these are the stands, right? So I'm like seeing both sides. And I'm like, okay, going in with low expectations. I was really pleasantly surprised. And let me tell you why. It's because of the line down below. Hasan Minhaj grew up, guys. Hasan Minhaj did what Mindy Kaling can't do, which is he changed. He's changed. He has changed his style. The way that he is presenting information now is not the Hasan Minhaj of 2017 when he dropped Homecoming King. It is a very different Hasan Minhaj. It is not the Patriot Act Hasan Minhaj who I felt got too comfortable in that role. It is a new and improved Hasan Minhaj. And I mean it. I really do mean it from the bottom of my heart. The show felt fresh. It felt different. It was really pretty good. A lot of new themes, all fresh material for the most part. It felt very authentic. And I know Homecoming King was super authentic. 100% understand that. But this show was like another level of authenticity. You thought Homecoming King was like a little bit of self-disclosure and Hasan talking about, his sister and his autobiographical experience through childhood and prom and all that. This was like that prom story, just like on a whole new level, like talking about his relationship with his wife, his daughter, Patriot Act, all of these things. Just very, very personal. It felt like Homecoming King felt like a TED Talk, right? It felt like he was giving us a TED Talk about his childhood. The King's Jester, which is the show that he did live, felt like I was sitting at a bar with him and he was like, okay, let me tell you what I've been going through the last 2.5 years. And some of the themes that he really talked about, I think were really cool. He talked a lot about his fertility stuff with, I don't want to give too much away. He talked a lot about fertility. He talked about Patriot Act in the show and, the inner workings of it and some of the stories that he's been involved with that show. He talked a lot about his family, not like necessarily like his, but his like married new family type of thing, like, having kids and all that. Like I said, fertility, but also like, the dynamics between everybody. He talked about messing with foreign leaders. I thought that was a really, particularly the Saudi Arabia episode. I don't want to give too much away again. And he talked a lot about social media and clout. And this is something that is, very obviously as a content creator, like is very big for me. And he really, really did a good job of kind of talking about like what it's like when you get all that clout and when you get all that like fame, like what is it like to like really deal with that and like questioning your motives of the content that you're creating. Are you making it for other people? Or are you making it for yourself? Or are you making it to actually the actual motives of this? And he did a really good job kind of exploring those themes within the show. Again, Homecoming King and this and the King's Jester feel very similar in style, like in that they were both one-man shows. They're both, and if you don't like one-man shows, if you don't like one guy talking to you for about 2 hours, then you're gonna not like this show. I'll be honest, you probably won't. If you didn't like Homecoming King, you probably won't like this show. But my girl Shreya, you were wrong. Like she said she liked Homecoming King and she didn't like this. I look back on that review and I'm like, yeah, you're wrong. You're totally wrong. Am I ready to say that the King's Jester is better than Homecoming King? No, it's not. It's not. I want to make that very clear. I can't even compare the two because they're very different. They're literally fundamentally, like in terms of theme, super different shows. And the way that they both flow is incredibly different. I don't know. In this show, like Hasan felt a lot more unfiltered. Hasan felt very unfiltered. It felt very like I'm gonna pull the curtain all the way back. Like Homecoming King was like, let me kind of see what it's like dipping the toe in authentic storytelling. Like this was like, okay, I'm gonna dive face first into the ocean, right? That was what this was. And it was very one-man style. I really do enjoy the one-man style. Like I really like that a lot. And there wasn't a dull. I felt like there wasn't really a letdown in any moment of the show. It was about 95, 100 minutes. It was really entertaining. And just, I never even like looked or thought about the time. It was just, it went by like this. And the show really does show that this guy has grown up. He's gone through a lot in life over the last 4 years. and he's sharing all of those stories with you. And I think that's really powerful and really cool to see a guy do that, because not a lot of famous people are like very open like this, and it was a very open, very transparent storytelling. The audience was just enthralled. It felt like a very like it felt, well, we were also at the late show, so I presume people were a little lit. But it was a lot of fun, and I felt like people were very receptive to this message. In my opinion, this was a really good show. If you get the opportunity, and if you're in college or you live in another city, not the Bay Area, and you're in the United States, go see it. Go see it, dude. Like, I know he's coming to for my UIUC people, he's going to Champaign in late March. Go get a ticket. If you didn't get a chance to see him and you're from NorCal, you live in NorCal, and he's doing a show in Sacramento, go buy tickets. Literally, I'll tell you, like, this, you're not gonna want to miss this one. This one is really much worth. It's worth it. And I know you're like, oh, I'll catch it on Netflix. This is the type of show you kind of want to be in person for. It was a really cool experience, and I would highly recommend it to anybody. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that, like, I literally made a video about 4 months ago saying that this guy was overrated, but I said I could totally change my mind if I see the King's Gesture and I'm whatever, and my mind has changed. Like, I could change my mind, and I absolutely have changed my mind about Hasan Minhaj. He did really good. He did real good. So shout out to you, Hasan. You did awesome, and like, I cannot wait to see. Also, Nylon Tee merch. Let's talk a little bit about this, bud. I had the business idea that I put out on my podcast account, at Essential Question Podcast. Go follow. I said, Hasan, bro, yo. And I basically told him, I was like, yo, bro, you should make Fuck Nylon Tee into a shirt, and you should sell it for merch. You should, bro. You're going to make so much money out of this. You need to make merch out of the catchphrases that you make from this show. Like, I'm not going to give away any of the catchphrases from the King's Jester, because, that would be like me violating a lot of rules, and I'd probably get sued by you and your team. So I'm not going to do that. But you should make catchphrases from both of these shows. Start with Homecoming King, right? Make like a, I don't know. I think a Rajesh Rangit Ramanujanam like shirt would be so funny, right? Like, these are references that are just spoken amongst the South Asian community. Like, I kid you not, as someone who is a part of the South Asian community and, isn't, and is kind of is a big fan of Homecoming King. I could tell you your merch would sell off the walls like that. Like, you charge $100 for a Homecoming King sweatshirt, it'll sell out in like literally 2 days or 2 minutes. Like, I'm not even joking. Anyway, get merch, Hasan, please. And also, if you want to come on the Changavi show anytime, bro, I'm happy to have you. We can discuss current events. You know what? How about this? What if I design a whole show and you come on for like an hour and we talk about all the topics, and you give me your take, I'll give you mine, and we have a little spirited debate. How does that sound, bro? How does that sound? I know you've watched my Instagram story like 2 times. I know we're basically best friends. So why don't we make this a reality? Break the South Asian universe, and you come on my podcast. Let's do it. Let's do it, Hasan Minhaj. Let's do it, bro. Let's shock the world. Anyway, I've gotten through 3 topics and it's been 48 minutes. This is absolutely ridiculous. But yeah. Anyway, shout out to you, Hasan. That's my South Asian quality control session for the day. So, we got that out of the way. But we got to talk about one more like big pop culture kind of headline that I've been sort of thinking about over the course of this last couple weeks here. Obviously, like I said, over Thanksgiving break, had a lot of time, watched a little bit of TV, watched some Netflix, and my guy Isaiah. So for those of you that don't know, I have a friend named Isaiah, and he was on my podcast, episode 16. Go check it out. Favorite TV shows, and it's an adult, I believe is the title of the episode. And we basically talked about all our favorite TV shows. And I take what Isaiah has to say very seriously when it comes to TV shows, because me and him have like a pretty similar taste when it comes to shows. And he's someone who kind of like has a real diverse taste, which I like. It's not just like I really like serious dramas from the 1930s, right? He's all over the place. He kind of likes a little bit of everything, and so I'm with it. And he put up on his Twitter account this show called Hentified, and he basically said it's real underrated. And he was talking about this even a couple years ago. He was saying you should watch it. And I just kind of like threw it in the back of my mind, didn't really think about it. And then I saw the tweet again. He said season 2 is better than season 1 arguably. And I was like, "Okay, let me check this out." And I'm watching the show and I am just wowed. I'm really wowed. I'm just like, this is a really good piece of television, and not enough people are talking about this. I was real impressed. I was like, wow, like this is awesome. The characters, the the fact that it's about, a community that you don't really think about. It's got this whole theme of gentrification and all these themes of like wokeness and diversity and all of this stuff, but it's not shoved down your throat. It's not. And I love that about this show. I love the fact, yes, it's called Hentified, which is like a play on gentrified, but gente is like people and in Spanish and all that. Anyway, but it's not shoved down your throat. This whole show is just very like, it's not like, oh, this is this and that is that. It's really, every character is so unique. That's what I like, right? You have like the old immigrant grandfather character who's like, what you would expect. And then you have like his and then you have like the three cousins, all of whom are very different. There's a queer character in the show, and I think they do a real good job with the queer character. It's not like stereotypical in the way that they portray any of the kind of identities that they go through. And they really talk about like embrace the whole like concept of the show is learning to love yourself. I feel like that's the main theme of the show. And as someone who really does struggle with that, it was a really good watch. I really just appreciated just the different characters, and every one of them is every one of them is likable in their own ways, but they're so real as human beings. You watch them and you're like, oh, like I understand why you did that because of X, Y, and Z, and because like and there are a lot of traits within these characters that you can absolutely relate to, and I don't know, like these characters felt like real humans to me. A lot of times when you watch TV, you're like, dude, I would never interact with a person like, Nick Miller in my life. I love Nick Miller. Okay, don't get me wrong. But like, is there really a person like Nick Miller out there? I would love to know. If there is, please show me. Like exactly like him. Like he's too odd, right? Schmidt is so much of a douche to the point where it's like you're never gonna interact with him. They're obviously amazing characters for TV, but like, would you ever interact with these people in real life? In Hentified, you can talk to like I could see any of these characters down the street and I'd be like, oh, like that's like, Eric, that's Chris, right? And I'd be like, oh, like, okay, yeah, like they're from the show. Like you could see these people on the street. Like they're very realistic. It's a very realistic show. It's very based in reality. It's very based in life. I think it's even more kind of in the forefront now because it's about a small business trying to stay afloat and all of these things, and with COVID and all of that. I think it was also really relatable to me because I do work in a small family business, so it was like I was like, whoa, like I'm kind of getting throwbacks to work and all that in its own little unique ways. But this is a really great piece of television. It's about again, a Mexican American family in East LA just trying to make it and trying to survive. And each character is goes through their own struggles, whether it be identity, whether it be like feeling like they're not good enough, all of these things. And it's very human. It feels like a really human show, and it feels like diverse representation done right. You want to take a good look at an example, Mindy Kaling? Look at this show, Hentified. Okay, make a single character like either Eric, Chris, Anna, Casemiro. You make a single good character like that, I'll be happy for the rest of my life. I'll never question you again. Make a single good South Asian character like that. But no, you probably won't because, you've done the same thing 5 times and I'm sick of it. Anyway, Hentified, go check it out. Really, really good show. A lot of fun. And I think it's definitely worth your time. Okay, so let's move on because we talked a lot about pop culture and we got to talk about music and we got a news topic after. The Grammys, man. I hate the Grammys. I despise the Grammys to the point where I'm just like, bro, this is so this is so not worth it. Like I understand the fact that at the Grammys you have all of these different categories And, there's so many different types of music to the point where it's like real difficult to categorize everything and find, the specific spots for where everything goes. But like, I think they just do such a bad job. Like, I think they're not with the times. I think I think the rap category also is just like all of the categories are so broad. I feel like the Grammys last updated their awards in 1979 and they have not like updated it ever since. Like I feel like there should be a year to year like, update. Like especially with rap, I think Logic brought this up in an interview. And I think it's a very valid point is he was talking about like, yo, when it's like rap albums, you cannot put Polo G, Kendrick Lamar, uh, Young Thug, and Drake in the same category, right? Like it's just like it's four different types of rap. Rap and hip hop in particular is to the point where it's like there are so many subgenres that you need to break down into their own individual Grammys if you want to give it that, right? Like the rap album for this year. Okay. Like the four that are nominated are like what? Like it's like Donda. Like dude, Donda is not a Grammy worthy album in my opinion. It's literally there because of Kanye West. Certified Lover Boy, I love Drake and I really like the album. It's not a Grammy album. The only album, there's two actually that I remember. King's Disease, which is Nas's album, which I thought was really solid. That could be, arguably a Grammy album. Probably only on there because Nas is attached to the project. And then the off season, J. Cole. I thought that was a fantastic project. That should win. If that doesn't win, I'm gonna be pissed. Like if Certified Lover Boy wins a Grammy over the off season, are you kidding me? Like listen, I love Drake just as much as the next person, but he does not deserve to win the Grammy this year. Okay, particularly in that category. If King's Disease won, I wouldn't be like upset. Donda wins, I'd be like, wow, the Grammys suck. This Donda sucked. Okay, like I went back and listened to it multiple more times. I did not like it. Best record of the year. Let's talk about this category for a second because there is this woman by the name of Brandi Carlile that gets nominated for the Grammys every freaking year. But yet, no one knows who the frick she is. For all we know, she could be some fake catfish. But she gets a nomination every year. I've seen this since like 2018. Brandi Carlile. I'm like, who the hell are you? I listened to this record that she was nominated for. It's some like piano ballad. And it's like, whatever. It's not crazy good. It's it's a song that you would hear on the radio 40 million times. Except I have never heard Brandi Carlile on the radio in my life. And apparently that's a record of the year. Shouldn't record of the year have something to do with the fact that maybe like, it's popular and people know what it is? And like, yeah, there was a few like Industry Babies on there and like a few others. But this girl, Brandi Carlile, just gets nominated for no reason. I don't know. I just have a feeling the Grammys are going to mess this up again. And we're going to be sitting here in February and there's going to be a bunch of results that I'm not a fan of. And I'm going to be ranting, just like I did about Mindy Kaling for 20 minutes. And and that's fine. That gives me more content to talk about. Obviously, best new artist. I think Olivia Rodrigo was on there. I think there's a few others. Olivia Rodrigo should win that. I think she's here to stay in the music industry for a while. We'll do a top. Should I do a topic on Olivia Rodrigo? Would you guys like that? But yeah, my point is like I feel like the Grammys just like I don't know what it is. I think awards in general are just so dumb. Like I think you can do it for movies. I think you can do it for film because it's just like there are certain categories that you can just kind of list. Even then, I think like the Oscars are very biased towards specific pieces, particularly period pieces. The Oscars love it when all the actors and actresses are dressed in like 1850s suits. They'll automatically give it a nomination, right? That's the running joke is period pieces win. Parasite was, the rare thing. And then Nomadland. Like they're changing obviously a little bit, but like period pieces get, at least 8 Oscar noms a year. Like it's ridiculous. Like we need to stop like valuing this whole historical thing. And particularly, and like I know I'm going on a film rant, but like they need to stop valuing this whole historical thing and just like look at like what's actually good. And like who the hell is the Academy? That's the thing is like who the hell is on the Grammys? Like is it like the Grammys board? Is it actually people who like are familiar with music, or is it people who are like in the freaking studio, like studio presidents when Elvis Presley was the number one act in freaking music, right? This is my thing. I preach the youth. The youth need to be involved in all of these things. Like, it should straight up be a bunch of 26-year-olds on the Grammy board. People, famous artists should be consulted. All sorts of different people. Like, this shouldn't be like a bunch of 80-year-old white men, choosing like what is valid art, right? Like, they're not even making the art. So I don't know. I think the Grammys just as a whole are not very, conducive to the society that we live in today. And there's a lot of changes that need to be done. Um, and Brandy Carlisle, what the hell? Like, this girl's nominated every year. I kid you not. Like, go back. Like, she's been nominated. She's been nominated at least 5 times. I guarantee you. But I see her everywhere in the nominations. Brandy Carlisle, Brandy Carlisle. Like, what have you done? Like, I'm confused. I did not hear about you until I read the nominees. So anyway, Brandy Carlisle, if you're listening to this, I apologize. I would, if I offended you. But who are you? Like, are you real? Can you like show your face, please? Thank you. Like, that would be much appreciated. Because you're getting nominated for Grammys, and that's fantastic. That's like more than I can say I've ever done in my life. But like, where are you at? Who are you? What is your music? So, appreciate the sharing. Anyway, let's transition to, let's talk about the news for a second and talk about specific anchors, particularly the freaking Cuomo, the man, the myth, the legend, Christopher Cuomo. I made a TikTok about this a couple days ago. And this actually wasn't supposed to be a topic on the show, until the news broke. And you know how much I just love Chris Cuomo and how much I love CNN anchors, and how much I love CNN. They're the best institution on the face of the earth. Anyway, if you can tell, that's sarcasm. Chris Cuomo, my God, this guy, dude. I literally made a video and a TikTok, not a TikTok, but I made a YouTube video. It's called something about the Cuomos, my thoughts on the Cuomos or something. Way back in August, for 5th episode of the Changavi show, I talked about the Cuomos. I talked about Andrew Cuomo and the sexual assault and all of that. And I basically said, I called Chris Cuomo out. I was like, bro, you call yourself a journalist. You call yourself an anchor. Why are you not standing up for, or why are you not standing up for journalism? Why are you protecting your own brother's ass? And like, I understand, like, that's your brother, that's blood, all of that stuff. I'll happily tell my brother right now, you ever meet two people and I'm some famous podcaster who has media connections, I'm sorry, I'm not going to use them to try to protect you if you did something like that. I'd tell you were wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that offended him and he's probably sad. But no, I'm not going. If I was in Chris Cuomo's position, I would like to think that I would go on CNN and say what my brother did was wrong. Okay. But he didn't. And instead, he was having secret strategy sessions and, plotting ways to use his journalistic sources, his media sources who are well connected within various newspapers throughout the country, as well as, television. And he used them to try and make sure that stories about his brother were literally being erased. Are you serious? And CNN still hasn't fired him. They have indefinitely suspended him before they conduct their investigation. I swear to God, if Chris Cuomo is not fired, if Chris Cuomo is not blacklisted from the journalism world after this debacle, after putting personal interests ahead of telling the truth, I mean, he was never telling the truth in the first place. Chris Cuomo was always telling his own narrative of his progressive agenda that he wanted to put across, which clearly wasn't very progressive because, while at the same time he was championing me too. Yes, go stop sexual assault. His brother was sexually assaulting women left and right. Like, that's just the fact. He was a hypocrite. He is a hypocrite. He's a scumbag. He deserves to be sacked from CNN and never given a job in journalism ever again. But you know what? He'll probably write a book and make $5 million more. That's just the way the world works, unfortunately. But here's the thing. I don't think Chris Cuomo deserves to be, even like on CNN. I never thought, even before this stuff, I thought he was such a trash journalist. But the public sentiment is still pro this guy. You know how I can tell the public sentiment? I go up to my dad and I'm like, yo, you hear about the Chris Cuomo news? He's like, what happened? And I was like, I explained to him like, he was using his media sources to try and get ahead and protect his brother. He looks at me and he's like, Chris Cuomo's still a good journalist. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my god. This is the problem with talking heads in society, bro. Is like people develop connections with these people because, they tell their stories and they discuss all of these things and they tell you what you want to hear for some of them, right? If you really preach them, like that's why people love Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and me, right? We tell you what you want to hear, we make you happy, and you connect with us on a personal level. And then when you're implicated in some shit like this, people are like, oh no, I know him. My dad's like, I know Chris. He's a good guy. We talk every night. CNN. I'm like, dude, you don't know him. You don't know this man. You don't know anything he's ever done. Like he's not a real journalist. I don't know. Okay, that's just my thing. It's like the public will be right after these people. The public will defend Chris Cuomo. I guarantee you, there's gonna be a lot of people out there who are like, "What did you do wrong exactly?" When in reality, like all journalists, like I even talked to a journalist today. But I talked to Grant's dad. Like he had a whole thing on Twitter. He was talking about like, what were your thoughts on Cuomo? And I, kind of said my piece and I asked him, I said, as a journalist, do you think this is grounds of being fired? Because he revealed his sources and he used his sources to try to gain some personal advantage out of it. And he responded with one word. He said, yes. That's all I need to know. I asked a legit journalist, someone who's worked in sports journalism for 50 years, and he told me yes. That's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Right? I asked a legit person in the profession, is that grounds of being fired? Yeah. That's it. That's it. Chris Cuomo should be fired. Chris Cuomo should never see CNN ever again. Chris Cuomo should never touch a freaking newspaper ever again because this guy has used his journalistic sources to further advance his own career. So bye bye, Chris Cuomo. Bye bye. And maybe you can make a podcast like this where you talk about all the BS that you do. Except my podcast would probably be better than yours, Chris. It's a one person. Freaking hate Chris Cuomo. I don't freaking hate him, but like I just freaking wow. Like he's just so irritating. He just does some stupid things. Anyway, enough about Chris Cuomo. I'm love struck, guys. I'm love struck. Okay. I'm really in love. It's just in love. In love. In love. I really have been in love for a long time. Not for a long time, but it was a couple days ago. I was walking down the street and there she was. Gorgeous. No, I'm just joking. I'm love struck though, but it's not. It's not the barista at the local coffee shop I go to. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyway, let's not talk about my love life. That is besides the point. Um, I'm in love, and it's not just the barista at the coffee shop. I've been falling back in love with the Bay Area again. And I know a lot of you who've known me for a long time are like, bro, when were you never not? Like there's probably a weird period in there where I was angsty towards it. But I don't know. I feel like I've been spending a lot more time outside recently, in the Bay, around outside in nature. Damn, it's beautiful. It's like today I walked outside, December 1st, 2021. It's 70 degrees. I'm like, I live in paradise. Why would I ever move to Chicago when it's -10 and snowing with wind chill? Like, please tell me how that's adequate December weather. No, but like, I don't know. There's something I have fallen in love with the Bay Area in that, like, I've fallen in love with the idea that it is just so it's just the perfect place to live in my opinion. You have like the nature just and I was like no, and particularly I want to talk about the city for a second. And I got to do this quick because my computer's about to die. So the city is amazing. Those of you that have never been to San Francisco, make a visit. It's amazing. I was like I said, I was at the Hasan Minhaj show on Friday, and I was walking through, stand in that long line, and I was like looking all around, and I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And like we're walking all around the Masonic, and the Masonic is like the top of the hill in SF, and it's real gorgeous. And it's just like you're overlooking this view of like the whole entire city, and the city lights are up, and the vibes are there, and everything is just present, and it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I was just like sitting there, and I was like, I want to live here for the rest of my life. That's it. That's all I want to do. And that's really it. Like I think I'm just falling in love with the Bay Area again. The nature, winter here is gorgeous. Every season here is gorgeous, and I fall in love with my hometown every day. And it's not just the barista at the coffee shop, but it's the hometown that I live in. And I thought I would say that real quick because my computer's about to die. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Changavi Show. If you guys like the episode, feel free to hit the like button on YouTube. Feel free to hit the Spotify button, or sorry, the follow button on Spotify. We're going wild next year. This is going to be fun. Thank you, everybody who watched. And I want to give a quick shout out. I just released my Spotify Artist Wrapped. We've been listened to in 8 countries. We're going to make that 16 next year. I'm telling you, that's the goal. Double it up, baby. And we're going to try to do 70 episodes next year. So let's see. But again, thank you guys so much. I appreciate every single one of you that stick to the end. I know this was kind of a long episode and I went on a bit of a rant, but I appreciate that you guys, stick with me and you listen to the topics that I actually care about and appreciate me for who I am. But anyway, that's all I got. Thank you. Like, subscribe, follow, vibe with me. I'm telling you, this next year is about to be a hell of a lot more fun than this. So get excited. Changavi Show 16 in the books. I'm going to go to bed, and I'll catch you all for the after show in a couple days. All right. Peace.